Welcome to aminacademy.com. Let us discuss about decline of Byzantium Empire. The Byzantine Empire perhaps reached its peak power under the rule of Justinian I, who reconquered Italy and other parts of the western Mediterranean in 500s. However, these gains were short-lived. Over the subsequent centuries, the Byzantine Empire shrank to a small sliver of its former expenses. This was driven by the wide variety of problems, including civil wars, defeats in wars, economic problems, and religious divisions. As the historical maxim goes, history may not repeat, but it does rhyme. The collapse of the Byzantine Empire was largely similar to the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. Political instability of civil wars. As was the case of the Western Roman Empire, Byzantine policies were often declined by brutal strife between the ruling classes over who got to hold the throne. From 695 to 717, the empire was racked by civil wars after the despotic Justinian II was deposed in a rebellion and had his nose cut off. Conflict continued between the rebels until Justinian returned, though he was again deposed by a rebellion. Through this time, his whole head was cut off, like the chaos created more. Now we'll discuss further about decline of Byzantium Empire. The Byzantine Empire fell in 1453 when the Ottoman Turks captured Constantinople, the empire's capital city. The Ottoman Turks had been fighting the Byzantium for over 100 years. The Ottoman army stormed Constantinople and the lost Byzantine Empire, Constantine XI, died in battle. Aftermath, the Ottoman Empire ruled the eastern Mediterranean and Balkans for hundreds of years. The Ottoman Empire's conquest of Constantinople also marked the end of the Roman Empire, which the Byzantine people considered themselves part of. The Byzantine Empire faced many internal challenges that contributed to its decline, including civil wars, list of loss of control over revenue, persecution of the Armenians, neglect of the army and border defense, religious conflicts such as the iconoclast controversy. Even as the empire declined, its culture flourished, influencing Western intellectual traditions. Byzantine scholars helped Renaissance scholars translate Greek, pagan, and Christian writings. Now, let us further discuss about. In Byzantine Empire, Emperor Basil II never married, but after his death, his relative remained in possession of the throne until 1056, less because of their efficiency than because of the general feeling among the Byzantine people that the prosperity of the empire was connected with the continuity of the Macedonian dynasty. When Basil's brother Constantine VIII died in 1028, the line was continued in his two daughters, Zoe and Theodora. Zoe was married three times to Romanius III Argyrus, to Michael IV, and Constantine IX Monomachus, who outlined her. When Constantine IX died in 1055, Zoe's sister Theodora reigned along as empress until her death a year later. The great emperors of the Golden Age, not all of them members of the Macedonian family, molded the history of that age. The successes of Basil II were rather the creatures of circumstances because they did not make the seldom molded. In the 56 years from 1025 to 1081, there were 13 emperors. An attempt made by Constantine X to found a new dynasty was disastrously unsuccessful. Not until the rise of Alexius I Comnenus to power in 1081 was stability restored by an ensued succession in the Communist family who ruled for more than 100 years. Arrival of new enemies. The new enemies that emerged in the 11th century, unlike the Arabs or the Bulgars, had no cause to respect the reputations. They appeared almost simultaneously on the northern, the eastern, and the western frontiers. It was nothing new for the Byzantines to have to fight on two fronts at once, but the task required a soldier on the throne. The Pichinins, Turkic tribes, had long been thrown as the northern neighbors of the Bulgars. The policies of Alexius I were continued by his son John II Comnenus, reigned 1118 to 43, and his grandson Manuel I Comnenus reigned in 1143 to 80. In the 12th century, there was growing involvement the Western power in the affairs of the East as well as an increasingly complex political situation in Europe. The fall of Constantinople, also known as the conquest of Constantinople, was the capture of the capital of the Byzantine Empire by the Ottoman Empire. The city was captured on 29th May 1453 as part of the culmination of 55-day siege, which had begun on 6th April. The attacking Ottoman army, which significantly outnumbered Constantinople's defenders, was commanded by the 21-year-old Sultan Mehmed II, later nicknamed the Conqueror, while the Byzantine army was led by Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos. After conquering the city, Mahmud II made Constantinople the new Ottoman capital, replacing Adrianople. The fall of Constantinople and of the Byzantine Empire was watershed of the late Middle Ages, marked the effective end of the Roman Empire, a state which began in roughly 27 BC and had lasted nearly 1500 years. For many modern historians, the fall of Constantinople marks the end of the medieval period and the beginning of the early modern period. The city's fall also stood as a turning point in military history. Since ancient times, cities and castles had depended upon ramparts and walls to repel invaders. The walls of Constantinople, especially the Theodosian walls, protected Constantinople from the attack for 800 years and were noted as some of the most advanced defensive system in the world at the time. However, these were overcome with the use of gunpowder, specifically from Ottoman cannons and bombards. The heralding a change in siege warfare, the Ottoman cannons repeatedly fired massive cannonballs weighing 500 kilograms over 1.5 kilometers, which created gaps in the Theodosian walls for the Ottoman siege. So far, we discussed about the reasons why Byzantium Empire declined. We have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.